In this edition of In the Boardroom with Lucy Marcus, we are addressing AGMs, how the shareholder spring, if you like, has changed the dynamic for board members. Lucy, you in your Reuters column have written about compensation. How has it changed things for people like you?
It's been an extraordinary couple of weeks with the annual general meetings that have been held. We've seen something that is different than any other year. In the past, we've had, people who had some sort of special interest or were sort of rabble-rousers going to board meetings. But now we're seeing something very different. We're seeing institutional investors, people who have a stake in the company in some way, employees, looking at compensation, looking at the economy, looking at the results and saying, this is not going to fly.
A dumb question, Lucy, especially to someone who sits on a number or is a non-executive board member. How do these people in these boardrooms at these banks come up with these numbers and let these numbers go out when they've seen the results of the bank? How does that happen?
Well, it's not just banks. I mean,
it's not just banks.
It's not just banks. It's across all sectors. It's in oil and gas. It's in mining. It's in pharmaceuticals.
So how does that happen? Are they sitting in a soundproofed room? I know it's an expression you've used before.
Yeah, I think there is a component of this. So, I talk about tone deaf boards in soundproof rooms. There is a component as a board member. You lead a life where you get your papers, you fly to the meeting, you go straight into the meeting, the door closes, and you're basically in a soundproof room.
That to me seems like a very bad excuse. I mean, I know you're saying that this is from personal experience.
I don't agree with it. No, but I'm not. It's not an excuse.
But you pick up the paper in the morning. You see the people demonstrating on the streets. You see the effects of austerity. You see the way governments have handled things. Yeah. I don't buy it.
Well. You cannot buy. The issue is actually it's not right. Okay, so let's not. We're not disagreeing about the fact that it's not the right thing, but it is factually what happens. Yeah. And the issue now is, the AGM, the annual general meeting, is one of the only times when boards actually are out in public meeting people. So the rest of the time, we're going about our business, but we're not actually forward-facing, facing the investors, facing the employees. We're just doing our jobs. And I think one of the big things that's happening is it comes as a surprise, the force of feeling, the uprising. You call it, what did you call it, a shareholder spring?
Yeah, shareholder spring. Yeah.
And I suppose that is quite a shock to a lot of people. And it depends on what we do with it. The AGM, again, is a funny situation. You sit there, you nod politely. It's what you do next that's going to be important. This next
year is critical. Do you sit there and nod politely at these AGMs? Busted. All right. Okay. So city shareholders throughout these remuneration reports, Barclays shareholders did the same. Credit Suisse shareholders did the same. You talk about progress. Does this mean next year, the year after, in 5 years, that the members sitting around these boardroom tables are actually going to think more about this? Because of the way shareholders are responding.
Well, it drives home something we've talked about before, which is there's more transparency in the boardroom. And that is something that now board members need to pay attention to. We need to recognize that actually, you don't go in that boardroom and vote to go along, to get along. You don't vote against your conscience. You pay attention to what you're doing. If you're too busy to actually engage with the company and do what you need to do, get off the board. Because now companies more than ever need engaged board members. And the kinds of issues that are being brought up at the AGM, they don't stop at remuneration. There are a lot of questions, if you go back and look at the coverage, about corporate social responsibility. Something that in the past was about greening, people sort of thought of that as something else. Yeah. But corporate social responsibility is actually very much at the center of what people are discussing. Foxconn and Apple, and how businesses are operating on a global basis, labor relations, conflict minerals. These are things that are really important to people, to shareholders. They're going to be held account to that board.
Just to finish up with this idea of there being little accountability for individuals who sit around those tables. I mean, is there a sense of that? You're part of the board. No one's going to point their finger at me as an individual if I tick this box that says pay Bob Diamond 18 million or whatever it is. Is that a big part of the problem?
Well, we just saw that that's not going to fly anymore.
Right.
At the Barclays board meeting, the chair of the Remunerations Committee was held to account in a big way, and I think that we will see individual board members being held to account, and I have no problem with that. I think any board director who takes up a board seat and goes in there to do their job and does it in the best way possible is really engaged and really thinking. They won't mind actually the transparency that is coming. And anybody who thinks that they can avoid it, that's not realistic. We can no longer exist as board directors who are tone deaf in a soundproof room.
Lucy, it's been a pleasure as always. Many thanks. That's it for this edition of In the Boardroom with Lucy Marcus. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.